The Tom Sawyer Show on HBC TV 25 is brought to you by Jefferson Pub and Grill. Meet me at the levee for fabulous food and drinks at Jefferson Pub and Grill. Come check out their great nightly specials and limited time offer menu. Jefferson Pub and Grill. Hello again, everybody, and welcome to the Tom Sawyer Show here on HBC TV 25. I'm Justin Barrientos. Thanks for joining us. And Coach, one last time here on Channel 25 this season, and a tough loss this week. I don't know if I can come up with a good enough question, so I'll just ask you your reaction to the game, losing on the last play of the game.
Well, devastating. I mean, you usually puke when you're sick, but, puking over a loss, is tough. I mean, it ripped our heart out. It did. I mean, our kids have been working and battling all year. We've really grown as a football team this year, and there's, not enough to show for that. And that was one of those games where we really played a showcase game, overcame great adversity in the game. We have 3 picks in the first quarter and 7-7. We come back at halftime, it's 21 up. I mean, we're rolling. We really played well, and against a team that's ranked and in the region and all that. I mean, everything was right. And to get down the last minute of the game, we decided to go for the field goal, kick that, make them go the whole field. I had plenty of confidence in our defense, and our special teams were covering well on the kickoff. Carter puts it on the goal line. I mean, everything is set. And get down there and look up the clock, and there's still 1 tick left. I mean, it's just disappointing that they get one more shot, but they did. And we had the thing covered. Jeff Brown was on the kid's back, the quarterback's back. I mean, the whole thing. We thought it was a done play, and all of a sudden the kid just reached his arm up and threw it. And by that time, our linebackers had already reacted to the sack. Yeah. And all of a sudden, they took a step. They just, again, little things that kind of haunted us all year. One came up one more time. But I really think we deserved the football game. We outplayed them, and it's too bad for our guys.
One more question before we get to highlights. I mean, do you say anything to Jeff Brown afterwards? Is there any way to console him on that sort of thing?
Not really. I just told the guys on Sunday that I was really proud of them. I mean, it's one of those games where you do everything you should to win a game, and you don't. It's just, to me, it's boggling. But our guys are really resilient, and you saw probably the post-game stuff too, where they're, and it's tough to stand in front of a camera when you're done. But they said, hey, we'll get back to work on Sunday. And yesterday we came in and we did well. The guys are ready to go, and another chance this week to play against a good football team and resurrect one more time.
All right, well, let's relive it, I guess. Let's take a look at the highlights of this game against Augustana. 35-34 was the final.
Yeah, the fun part is, we really did have a lot of highlights. They're a good football team. Trey Hyde is a very good quarterback. C.J. Ham, like we talked about last week, they were the 2 guys. We did a nice job, put a lot of pressure on him, created a couple turnovers. That's Mike Imperiali in there, played very well. Inside linebackers, they had to, there was a couple guys there that, hadn't played a lot of football for us, but Ian Murray comes in and has 16 tackles instead of Colin Corcoran, and so that kind of stuff was really good in the game. But again, Paul Preston came back after that head injury last week, and you see him running around here. I mean, he did a great job in the game. Eric Berth played very well. Jack Nelson, I mean, you can't say this, but you take the passes, those interceptions out of the way, and he's fantastic. But that's Alan May throwing the ball there to Josh Mikas for the touchdown. Alan is, 3 for 3 in his career, and he'll be bragging about that later in the show. But defensively, we stopped them when we had to. We had some big drives that we shut down, especially after the turnovers. And again, you can see the constant pressure here as we get later in the game, and really had to get some pressure on their quarterbacks. We did. Play action pass, and you can see that this is just a perfect ball. Pass and catch, Jack Nelson to Josh Mikas. And of course, Jack went to be the all-time leading passer in now single season record too, and he's only a couple hundred yards away from conference record single season. Hopefully he gets that this week. But again, big plays in the open field. Our kick return did a nice job here getting us in position. Andrew Spencer was a kid that's very athletic. We put him back there. Paul was kind of hurt, so we put Andrew back there, and you can see the kind of athlete he is. And he's only a sophomore, so he's got a couple years to go. But he's got to figure out when to go down and get out of bounds. But nonetheless, gave us a great field position to give us a chance to put some more points up on the board. And here's Jack throwing a perfect strike out to the sideline. That's to Cam Johnson, who's had a fantastic year for us. Again, Eric Berth sliding the ball. Watch this, jumping over the kid at the end. In the scouting report, they cut a lot, their secondary, so they're cutting. I said, so go up over the top of them. Well, I didn't mean the guy that was standing up, but he did it anyway. Big interception there by Ian Murray. Did a nice job getting it out to the sideline and getting down the field. And again, big play for the Warriors. Put us in position. Again, scrambling around, got our hands on Trey Hyde and got him to the ground. We did that more than anybody else in the league has done. He scrambled out. We kept him in the pocket, and again, constant pressure. We did everything that we wanted to do, except that we had 1 second left in the game. Now Jack Nelson steps up and makes a great pass here. That's Alan May for another touchdown in the back corner of the end zone. But guys were excited. They had fun playing. We had a bunch of guys that really stepped up and played when other guys were hurt. Big plays down here in the red zone. And as you can see, that we're running it down from behind. Guys are playing their tail off on the back side of this. And a lot of people, kids, you don't even know who they are, and they're making plays. But here, guys that we're excited about coming off the edge. Jack Nelson again, a screen play back out to Paul. It's been a staple for us all year. Nice block there. If we could have got the last guy laid down, he might have been gone. But we whiffed on one of those big offensive linemen whiff. But again, Jack Nelson now, this is our last play. That was third down. We're a yard and a half short. He got tripped up a yard and a half short and decided to go for it. And here's the last drive, sack right there by Loudon Wood. And as we come down the stretch, as you watch this, you can see that we're running down the screen plays, catching it from behind, doing everything that we possibly can.
Let's talk about that last play where you do decide to go for the field goal, your last offensive play. How quick of a decision is that or how many thoughts or decisions are there ahead of time that you have to make before you get to that point where you say, well, we're going to go for the field goal instead of go for it? Yeah,
Cam and I were talking about it quite a bit on the phones as we were getting into that position because, we score 3, it becomes a 6-point game. If we don't get it, we go for it. If we get it, you win the game because you run the clock out. That'd be the nicest. The problem is that in our last 2 running plays that we had, we lost 9 yards.
Yeah.
And that play that you just saw with Cam, that was now all of a sudden it's 3rd and 19. We get down, we still have 2 left. We have to throw the football. I wanted to take some time off the clock and get a first down, or kick the field goal, play the field position game, put it on our defense's back, and that's what we decided to do. Carter's been great all year, best kicker in the league, give him a shot, and he banged it. And so I felt good about that, but we discussed it about all those options.
Okay, last minute here in this segment, you talked about trying to take away those 4 interceptions that Jack Nelson threw in the first half. From your perspective, what caused those interceptions?
I just think that, one, he was trying to be too good, trying to throw a ball into a small window instead of just taking the open receiver. That was one of them. The first play of the game, he had Josh down the sideline, 6 inches taller. He throws it up there, and the corner sunk underneath it and had a long, tall corner. And he just underthrew it. And then one bounced off Margiotta's shoulder pad, or actually hit him right in the face, went through his hands and hit him in the face. That's a pick. And then, like I said, trying to squeeze one in a window. So really, it was Jack just trying to do too much instead of just taking what the defense gives us and put a ball on him.
Okay, well, we'll get the player perspective coming back here on the Tom Sawyer Show. Alan May, wide receiver, will be our first guest right after this. The Tom Sawyer Show on HBC TV 25 is brought to you by Jefferson Pub and Grill. Meet me at the levee for fabulous food and drinks at Jefferson Pub and Grill. Come check out their great nightly specials and limited time offer menu. Jefferson Pub and Grill.
Get an inside look at the Winona State football program with the Tom Sawyer Show on TV 25. Brought to you by Jefferson Pub and Grill. Host Justin Barriento sits down with the Warriors head coach each week to break down last week's game and to look ahead at WSU's next opponent, as well as chat with Winona State players. Tune in at 4:30 p.m. on Thursdays, 6 p.m. on Fridays, 7 a.m. on Saturdays, and before every Warrior home game for the Tom Sawyer Show on HBC. Brought to you by Jefferson Pub and Grill.
Look at the brows on that.
That's a hog, man.
And welcome back to the Tom Sawyer Show here on HBC TV 25. And Coach Sawyer, I kind of was joking with Alan before, we got a regular here on the show.
Yeah, he's been here just as much as you and I have been. But and the reason I brought Alan along and thank you for coming, Alan. But the reason I brought him along is one of the most dedicated and most important kids on our football team. So wanted to get his perspective at the end of the year. But first of all, why don't we talk about that wide receiver group of yours, because we've had some interesting things take place in that group. So why don't you share a little bit of that information?
Is this live, Dylan? Dylan, it's live? It's live? I had to do that. Our group, our position group, we're a really close group, so we're a good group of friends, and I'm sure we'll be for the rest of our lives. So,
going back to the game, Jack breaks another record, the single season record now, and you got all these seniors out there playing. But what's that mean to you when you see these numbers go down and you being such an integral part of that over the years?
Right now, I don't think we've really been thinking about it too much right now. We're just trying to win football games, but I'm sure, when the season's over and when we're older, it's something that we'll look back on and be like, oh yeah, we're part of something really special. We broke a lot of records. But right now we still have one more game left to win.
Well, I have to ask you about the touchdown pass in the game against Augustana. One pass thrown this year, and it goes for an 80-yard touchdown to Josh Mikas. Can you kind of break that play down and tell us what you were thinking during that play?
Well, we ran that play against Wayne, and I ran the ball, so this week we put in the pass. Mm-hmm. And it's kind of funny, the very first pass I threw in practice was this really bad ball, and Sawyer was kind of heckling me for it.
I fired him.
Yeah, but I told him not to worry about it, but kind of set up perfectly, the corner triggered, and I said I'd throw it out for Josh, and I just want to make sure I didn't underthrow him. He's so fast, so I just got to make sure I put the ball out there.
Now, I know that you like to put in trick plays every once in a while, the Statue of Liberty, this kind of play. How much do you actually practice that during a week?
I think I ran it twice, but I know I was prepared, and Coach Keller does a great job of game planning, and our receivers, they did a good job. You could see Josh in the play, he just pulled away from that DB, so it's always fun, to throw those trick plays in an offense.
We have, going back to the game this last weekend, great, it's your last game at home and that kind of stuff. And we played really well. Justin asked me earlier about kind of my perspective of it, but what are you and the players taking away from this game?
To lose like that, it's kind of tough. It'd be kind of nice to be on the other end of that, but it's kind of emotional right now. Just I'll never get to play again on our home field. Mm-hmm. But it's something hard, and we've got to come out this week and have a good week of practice and go out and play Southwest for Sledgehammer.
Yeah, that's right. And what he's talking about is we do have a trophy that we're playing for this week. Goes back. I'll tell you the story later. Last question I have for you, Alan, is being one of the leaders of the football team, being a captain of the team, all that kind of stuff. What has it meant to you now that your career is coming to an end here this week? What has it meant to really be a Warrior for all these years? Words
can't describe it, man. It's been so special, and it's probably the best 5 years of my life. all the memories I've made, all the friends I made. It's something I'll truly remember, and I'll be around here for more years, I'm sure. And it was a blessing, and I can't even describe it right now.
Talk about the last game coming up. Do you enjoy the travel a little bit more because it's the last game? Do you try to soak things in a little bit more in the stadium when you approach, or do you just kind of approach it as just any normal game?
Right now, I'm just going to approach it like any other game. Do whatever I can to make sure our team comes out with victory. But it's weird thinking about this. It'll be my last game, but all I'm focused right now is getting a win.
My second to last question is, Al, going back to, you've been our 4-year starter, you've been a 4-year punt return guy, you're on all the special tems. When you look at all those duties, how many miles do you think that you actually run during a practice?
A lot. I've always thought about that, how it'd be interesting to see how many miles I actually ran during practice, but I do a good job of taking care of my body. I can do a lot of stretching, and I enjoy it. I don't like just standing around watching practice. I'd much rather be the person going out and having fun and playing football and making plays. So it's all right with me.
Yeah.
How much will football play in your future past Winona State?
I'm sure it'll probably play a very big role. I'm not sure what I'm going to do yet, but coaching is probably a big deal in my life. I've been around sports my whole life, so it's going to be something I want to continue. And I feel like I can do a pretty good job at it.
I do want to ask one more question.
Sure. Absolutely.
Third last question.
My third to last question. Yeah, well, no. But the biggest thing is, all of a sudden, we see people roll in. There must have been 150 Alan May supporters at the game. Was the whole town of Adams here? What was that all about?
The family and friends I have back home, they've been tremendous. The support they have for me, it's really something special. They're always texting me, always posting stuff on Facebook. It really means a lot. they're coming to every game. They're texting, calling me, and it really means a lot. You go out to the game and you see a whole group of people sitting out there just wearing my T-shirt, wearing a Warrior shirt. So it's a big deal, and it really means a lot after the game. Go and talk to all of them.
This may be a tough question, but I think this will be our last question for this segment. Is there any one thing, one game, one practice that's going to stand out when you think back on your career?
I don't know. I've had so many memories, but going down, winning a Middle Water Bowl, that was something pretty special. And obviously Mankato, we took down the #1 team in the nation. That was pretty special. But I think just the group of friends I made. Just every day we're going out, we're grinding, we're practicing every day. It's a lot of time and effort we put in, but you're doing it with your best friends and you're having a great time. So I think everything, it was something really special.
All right, Alan, thank you for joining us again on the show, and good luck in your future.
Thank you.
All right, and thank you for joining us for this segment. We're going to take a break. When we come back, Jarrett Wood from the defense will be our next guest. The Tom Sawyer Show on HBC TV 25 is brought to you by Jefferson Pub and Grill. Meet me at the levee for fabulous food and drinks at Jefferson Pub and Grill. Come check out their great nightly specials and limited time offer menu. Jefferson Pub and Grill. Tune in for the Sports Buzz every Tuesday at 5:30 as a panel of local sports journalists tackle the hottest topics on everything from local high school and collegiate sports to regional discussion about the Twins, Brewers, Vikings, and Packers. With the Power Play Fantasy Football Challenge to the Rant of the Week and NFL Pick'em, the Sports Buzz is fast-paced and sure to entertain. That's new episodes of the Sports Buzz every Tuesday at 5:30 with replays only on HBC TV 25.
Join HBC Sports' Extra Point one-camera coverage of high school football and soccer throughout the fall, presented by Lewiston Auto. In addition to our Football Night Crew broadcasts, Extra Point will bring you 8 games from the gridiron and 9 games from the pitch. For the full slate of games, simply visit hbci.com/sports to find out when your team will be on the field. That's Extra Point coverage of HBC Sports presented by Lewiston Auto, all fall, only on TV 25.
And welcome back to the Tom Sawyer Show here on TV 25. And Coach Sawyer going back to the defense and Jarrett Wood.
Yeah, Jarrett Wood, of course, he's been here before, but thanks again for coming back.
Thanks for having me.
Get some old vets at this, but we'll jump right back to the Augustana game. You're playing these big games at home, and as a junior, you got another year to come back and play some more. But what'd that game mean to you in the defense?
Yeah, they're always a good team. They got some good talent up there. Do a great job with recruiting, but yeah, it was a tough one. Obviously, I've never really been involved with one quite like that. I've lost with a couple minutes left, but 1 second was pretty rough. But there's other things you could do in the football game. It should never just come down to one play, one drive. But we did some good things as a team. We definitely grown a lot this year, but just heartbreaking to lose like that.
Yeah, and you get in the defensive side especially played really well. You guys kept Trey Hyde in check, kept him in the box. He was scrambling around. You got your hands on him a few times. Yeah. How difficult is it to play against that kind of a quarterback?
It's tough, because when you're pass rushing, you can't be as aggressive. You kind of got to sit down and make sure he doesn't leave the pocket, so elusive. He can throw, he can run. It really makes game planning pretty difficult. But, they're a good team, but I think we did a good job pressuring them all day. A couple things we could have done differently, but overall, I think we did some good things.
Okay.
I want to talk a little bit about the running game for Augustana, because as we talked about Winona State's running game, you have Paul Preston, who's kind of the small, shifty running back, and then you have Eric Berth, who's the big kind of go-ahead runner. For Augustana, they kind of had the same thing. They mostly ran C.J. Ham, but they also had that Greenway, Justin Greenway and Jason Greenway, both in there. What is it like to play against that kind of different style of running back?
It is different, especially the bigger backs. You're not really used to. That kid was, he was a big kid. He's 6'3", 6 foot, 240 or something like that. Pretty much weighs a lot, same as a lot of the linebackers. So, you definitely got to work on your tackling progression a lot more in practice. And coming into the game, it takes a few plays to get used to, but once you get it down, I thought we did a pretty good job with him. But yeah, it definitely, when you're tackling a guy, you got to think differently. You can't go up high with a bigger back. You got to kind of stay down lower, and with the smaller, shifty guys, you can kind of fit up better up high. But yeah, it's definitely difficult when they got a bunch of good athletes like that.
I want to ask you a little bit about tackling too, because when we're watching the game in the broadcast booth, and we see sometimes hanging on, trying to complete a tackle, waiting for someone else to help, if you can't bring them down first, and what's your thought when you're grabbing onto somebody and they're trying to get extra yards going down the field?
You're just trying to hold on until the pursuit arrives. Defensively, our coaches always hammer out pursuit and practice. And I thought we've done a pretty good job this year overall, changing the culture of our defense and getting guys to the football, getting guys running around crazy, trying to get to the football. And I mean, we held C.J. Ham to under 100 yards, which not a lot of teams have done this year. But yeah, I mean, it's big. You're just trying to, if you can't really get there, you're trying to slow him down, trying to grab onto an ankle, something like that. But yeah, definitely trying to squeeze his knees together, roll, trying to get him on the ground any way possible.
You know, you play that outside linebacker position, and which is, you know, really the most difficult position on the field to play, next to corner probably.
Yeah.
But all the things that you have to do, what makes it so difficult out there? Explain to the people, you know, why playing outside linebacker is so tough.
You know, it's tough. There's a lot of things you got to look at. You got to first, you can either be on rushing the quarterback or in coverage. You know, you got a lot of different responsibilities in all the different types of defenses and coverages, and I think the toughest thing is being 5 yards off the ball and having your eyes on a number 2 receiver and having to read the run. You know, you got to force the ball back inside while trying to get on your man in coverage. You know, there's just a lot of different things you have to do. But we got some great coaches. You know, Coach Olenka has been great with us. He was here my freshman year. And yeah, it's a tough position.
How quick is that decision then to go off a receiver into the running back? Right? Do you guess sometimes?
Yeah, I mean, sometimes you definitely guess and you lose your guy, but other times you can make plays. You know, if you trigger inside, make a nice play. I know Nakai Poiser's been doing a great job. He's more the coverage outside linebacker. I'm kind of more of the rushing and run fit outside linebacker, but he's done a great job. I mean, he's only a redshirt freshman, and I definitely think he's got some great days ahead of him.
You know, you think about where we've come as a defense, and you have come along as a player. But what do you think the biggest strides that we've made as a program this year, in spite of you know being a 500 team right now? But what has happened to our team this year, and where are we going in the future?
I just think a lot more guys are buying in this year. You know, we've played some tough games. You know, we went up to Augustana last year and they beat us by 20, 25 points. You know, and this year we're battling them at home, losing on the last second of the game. It's just guys getting a lot better. You know, our offensive line's been incredible. Our offense has really done a great job. And defensively, we've done some good things, but there's a lot more things we can do still to build on. And going into the future, you know, we're losing a lot of seniors, a lot of guys that, especially on the defensive side of the ball and offense, now that I think about it. You know, we're losing a lot of guys that are big playmakers for us, and it's going to be tough to fill those positions. But we got some good guys coming back, and we got a lot of young guys that I think will do a great job for us.
Sure.
You talk about the Southwest game coming up. How much do you want to win for the team? How much do you want to win for this group of seniors that are playing their last game?
You know, it's huge. Definitely want to send those guys out right. It's crazy. I mean, one of my best friends, Colin Corcoran, came in with me my freshman year, and he's already done. It makes me just scared to think how fast it's going to be before that's me. But we want to send those guys out on the right note. You know, we couldn't get that one for them back home, which broke our heart. But we got one more going up on the road. They got one more game in them, and we're ready to get after them, get after practice this week.
You know, the last one I have is, you know, I can't quit saying that.
This will be the last.
This will be the last one. But you know, on the road, what do you have to do to really prepare yourself as we get ready to get on that bus on Friday and get ready for an on-the-road game?
You know, we just have to have a great week of practice. Usually, when we've had a great week of practice, it's translated in games. And you know, Southwest is a good team. They're 7. I think they got 7 wins, right? Tough offense. They throw the ball, run the ball, pretty split. But we just got to have a great week of practice, and usually we've played pretty well on the road this year. So I'm excited to get after them and take that sledgehammer away from them.
That's right.
All right. Thank you, Jarrett, for joining us. Good luck against Southwest this week.
Thank you very much.
And we'll come back to talk about the game against Southwest Minnesota and wrap up the season with the Tom Sawyer Show right after this. The Tom Sawyer Show on HBC TV 25 is brought to you by Jefferson Pub and Grill. Meet me at the levee for fabulous food and drinks at Jefferson Pub and Grill. Come check out their great nightly specials and limited time offer menu. Jefferson Pub and Grill.
We chose HBC because they're a local company. They have a big audience in Winona, which is the geographic group that we're looking for. Mel is very easy to work with. She's genuinely concerned about how our money is being spent, and she does everything she can to make sure we get the most for our money. She takes care of us. So whenever there's a problem, which is rarely, I know that I can go to her and she's going to take care of it.
To see how HBC advertising can help your company, call Melanie at 507-474-5802.
Look at the brows on that.
a hog, man.
And welcome back to the Tom Sawyer Show here on HBC TV 25. Last segment for this season. Sorry to see you go, because it's always fun to visit with you and talk Warrior football. But let's talk about this game coming up, Southwest Minnesota State. I don't know if they surprised some people. They kind of surprised me when I looked at their first games. Their first 3 wins were like 6 points total, so they played some really close games. How do you match up with Southwest?
I think pretty well. I think we have a very similar. They have a quarterback, Blake Gimble, that we recruited as well, and so we know about them. He's like Jack. He can throw the ball very well, and they got a small little running back that's very good, and they have a good front 7 defense again. I mean, it's kind of the same thing over and over, but they're playing very well. They ran through the North Division pretty well and won the games they were supposed to, like you said, the close ones. But I think that if you look at the two of us together side by side and compare stats, I think it's pretty even. The team that takes care of the football the best has the best opportunity to win.
Let's talk a little bit about injuries going into the game. You kind of heard that Colin Corcoran is done for the season?
Well, yeah, I don't know if he's done for the season. He didn't play last week.
Yeah.
He was back in the doctor here actually tomorrow, so we'll see if he gets clearance or not. He was walking around pretty well, so I don't know. But I sure hope so. Otherwise, like I said, Ian Murray's came in and played really well.
Yeah.
And I think that Kyle Kuhn went down in the game. He should be fine. Paul Preston played this week, so he was good. Eric Berth was good. He went out for the game for a while. So I think we're as strong as we've ever been this late in the year.
Can we ask about Jack Nelson, about what happened to him during the Augustana game?
Yeah, absolutely. He kind of tweaked his elbow again. He's got kind of it's like a funny bone, or not so funny bone, but it kind of went numb on him a little bit. So he got into halftime, and then he came out and threw a bunch, and then he played really well after that. So didn't really have any effect on him while he threw picks, but he did go down on the ground and kind of hit it on his elbow, and it's something he did earlier in the year too, and he fought through it, so he should be fine.
Okay. Now, it's always amazing to me how quickly you look towards next season, because you're going to be recruiting right after the Southwest game is done. But before we get to that, let's talk about the Red Bowl. I know that happened on Sunday. Tell us exactly what the Red Bowl is for those that don't know what it is.
People probably saw it on Facebook, some of the things we posted. But the Red Bowl is really each Sunday, not every Sunday, but almost every Sunday, we scrimmage with all the kids who didn't play. That is all the redshirt freshman kids, and thus the Red Bowl comes from the redshirt kids. But they compete every Sunday, running our offense and our defense. Otherwise, they're scout team guys all the rest of the year. So on Sundays is their time to compete, and it was very competitive yesterday. They got after it, and we had a surprise guest, Nick Urbon, who actually played for the Vikings a little bit. He came and spoke to the team as well too. So it's just a great competition, and it's kind of bragging rights. And now the defense has won that 4 years in a row. So there's a lot of talk on the offensive side about the scoring system, of course.
How much do you learn from what you see in the Red Bowl?
Well, it's not just the Red Bowl; it's all the Sunday scrimmages.
Yeah.
We really, those kids, as they grow through the program during the year, you really can see the kids kind of separating from one from the other. And we got a tremendous group. There's some kids, some defensive line kids that are very good. We have 2 All-State champions, heavyweight champions that are on our defensive line, so we can't wait to get those guys going. One from Menominee and one from Chautauqua, Wisconsin. So those 2 kids are rolling along. Quarterbacks, you watch them play. Garrett Johnson really played well yesterday, but our freshman kid, John Rumsa, from the Blooming Prairie Blossoms, he's doing a tremendous job too. So you start to see some separation in kids, and then you come back right away in 2 months, and we start up spring practice. So it's a great learning curve for those guys.
Talk about what the future holds for you. I mean, as soon as the Southwest game is done, what's your schedule like right after that?
Well, we're already in the recruiting mode. Right now we're looking at some transfer kids. We had a running back in from Florida last week for our game. We got some kids out of Minnesota that we're looking at in the junior colleges and in Iowa. So right now that's where our focus is. We try to get a couple kids in that we need, not a lot, but maybe a couple kids to fill some needs immediately right now, and so they can get into school here in January. So that's our focus right now until December 1st. December 1st is when the first time my staff can get on the road and go see high school kids. So we'll be there. So yeah, it's all recruiting from now until February. But that's also a fun part because we have so much to sell here in Winona, and even though we didn't have the year we wanted, there's so much good going on in our program that the families that have been already visiting are really, really excited about us.
All right, and quickly, you have one more luncheon left this year?
Yeah, we're finishing up this week with everything. Thursday is our last luncheon over at the Riverport. It's been great. I'm actually going to bring Spencer Spencer O'Reilly this week. He's already got a job at Mayo waiting for him as a nurse, and then I'm bringing a kid by the name of Clint Warminski, one of those redshirt kids that came to us via David Ludy, if we remember that name. He's a principal up at Stanley Boyd, so kind of an old guy leaving and a freshman, so we'll get both perspectives at the luncheon.
All right, Tom, thank you for joining us this year, and we'll see you next year.
You bet. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks for joining us here on the Tom Sawyer Show. We'll see you next time.